Well, g'day folks, Ashley here from Ground Speed Gaming, and today I'm going to do a flight in a Cessna 172, as you can see, the G1000 version. I'm going to do a flight from Prescott to Winslow in Arizona. It's actually not too far away, but it takes us over some really nice scenery and some nice places worth visiting if you ever get a chance to go to Arizona. So we'll just get started here. Well, actually, even before we start the engine, there is a couple of things I want to go over. And first of all, just having a quick look at the weather here. Prescott, this is where we are right now. And obviously, I've switched the time to early in the morning, so we're going to get better performance for this aircraft, because you're going to need as much performance as we can get. However, this is the real weather at this moment. So it's light winds, 10 miles visibility clear, etc., etc. It's looking good. So we're fine there. This is Prescott. And Winslow is even better. I'll just refresh just to make sure. Yep. As you can see, there's not really any issue with potential fog or anything like that, even though the winds are light. Temperature is 1 degree Celsius. The dew point is minus 17, so we're good. Forecast variable winds, unlimited visibility, sky's clear, awesome. So we're really good there. Weather is not an issue. Prescott does have a few NOTAMs, however, they're not really going to be affecting us, especially being in a sim. But you've got to be aware of them, you know, if you're going to go treat flying realistically. We're going to plan on takeoff from 2-1 left, because that's the longer runway. Instrument approach procedures, we're not really worried about that because we're actually departing, but in real life you would sort of keep it in mind if you had to return to the field. So I'm not going to worry about that. The optical departure clearance is something we are doing. I'm not going to be doing radar vectors, however we are going 2-1 left. It's a minimum required climb gradient is 448 feet per nautical mile, and instrument departures, SIDS and all that stuff are based on 200 feet per minute. So you do need a decent rate of climb. 2-1 right, no, that's 2-1 right, we're going 2-1 left. 2-1 right, it has obstacles normally, just the light poles in the way it's built, but that's okay. Obstacle departure clearance, one of them would actually affect us in real life. This one would actually affect us in real life. Departure procedure is not available except for aircraft equipped with suitable RNAV systems or GPS, because the Drake VOR, which is what we're going to be using today, is actually in op as of actually today, 10 a.m. East Coast time this morning, until the 17th of December 2024. So yeah, so actually in real life you have to have GPS, but being in the sim, we're actually going to use the Drake VOR. That's all that would really affect us here in Prescott. And Winslow, there are actually 2 NOTAMs, but the obstacle light, I'm not worried about that. The VOR GPS approach, runway 11, which is what we're planning on doing. I'll be doing a VOR, not GPS, but it's the same actual route. It affects helicopters visibility, so we're not a helicopter, so that does not affect us, but this actually is something we need to keep in mind. The MSA, or the VORTAC, 25 nautical miles. The MSA in one sector is 8,100 feet instead of 7,800 feet, so there's probably some obstacle. But besides that, no NOTAMs are going to affect us. So this is the route we're going to take. We're going to go from Prescott, follow the departure clearance, obstacle departure procedure, which takes us out this way a bit. And then we'll circle around to Drake. Our MSA, because this is an IFR flight, however, we will be visual the whole time. The MSA is 10,100 feet. So I'm planning on climbing to 11,000 feet, traveling eastbound on Victor 12, Victor 12, or Victor 264. Go by either one. And obviously the MSA after Oates is increased to 10,800 feet. So that's why I'm going to go to 11,000 feet, and it's hemispherical. And from the VOR here at Winslow, we're going to make an approach into Winslow Airport. And somewhere around here, near the Winslow Airport, is the meteor crater. And it is freaking awesome. It looks really good in the sim. And it looks even better, obviously, in real life. But the flight's also going to take us directly over the Sedona Airport. So that'll be something worth seeing as well. All right, so obviously I've started up, done the test and arm switch, and that's brought up a pre-FD. The beacon light is on, nav lights are on. Engine indicating systems, we've got to check that. Zoom in a little bit so we can see it a bit better. And we go to discharge, that's fine, that's okay. Brakes, just make sure the brakes are set. The brakes are on. Normally you keep your foot on the pedals, but I use the handbrake in the sim only. The prop is clear. Master on. Master battery, and I'll put the alternator on as well. Beacon light is on. The fuel pump we're going to put on just momentarily. And mixture's rich already. I left that there by mistake. Fuel pump's on. You should get fuel flow. Hang on. Well, there should be fuel flow, but that's okay. And mixture lean. I should have actually had it lean before I did that. Okay, so we've got to do the start the mags. And then as soon as it kicks in, then we richen the mixture. So you yell out the window, clear prop. Anyway, oil pressure is up. That's good. That's what we want. That's very important. If the oil pressure doesn't rise within 30 seconds, you've got to shut it down because you're going to damage the engine. The amps looking good. Annunciators, they're all gone. Lights, put the text light on. The mixture, let's actually just check that. There's 1,000 RPM. We'll pull it. We'll lean the mixture back a bit. We should increase RPM a little bit. As soon as it drops off, yep. Okay, there we go. That's enough. In reality, I think you'd probably lean it a little bit more, but the idea is there. You do, after you immediately start the engine, you do need to lean the mixture, even for taxiing at these elevations, because obviously, as you can see, we are near 5,000 feet. Avionics 1 and 2 on. And the engine instrumentation will come across to this screen here. Today is December 10. And normally, obviously, you would check the date and make sure that it's valid. This is saying November 28th. Right, December 26th. I'm not sure. It's displayed differently in real life, so I'm not sure. We'll just pretend that it's all valid. But you do need to check that when you start her up. Especially if you're doing a check ride, you know. But even just any day use, your everyday use. Alright, for pre-taxi, seatbelts set. Flaps, they are actually up. Avionics, they are on. ADAS and AOS, okay, we're going to need to get that. So ADAS is 127.2. Activate it.
Prescott Airport information, Quebec 1500 Zulu. Wind 270 at tree. Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature 6. Dew point 10. Altimeter tree 0.37. ILS runway 21 left and visual runway 21 right in use. Landing and departing runway 21 left and runway 21 right. VFR aircraft say direction of flight. All aircraft read back hold short instructions. Advise controller on initial contact UF Quebec.
All right. Excellent.
Prescott Airport information, Romeo 1500 Zulu. Prescott Airport.
I guess it didn't detect that I'd switched frequencies. Okay. So we're going to go for runway 21 left. And it's there. And the wind's from 270. So it's slight crosswind of, well, it's a 3-knot wind. So it's probably 2-knot crosswind. So we're going to be fine. Alright, so we've got the ATIS. The altimeter was 3037, so let's change that. Barometric is the outer one. Oh, sorry, this one. 3037. Very high pressure system. 3037, and the elevation is... sorry, I just got to bring it up again just so I can look at it. 5,045 feet. Excellent. So that's within 75 feet. That's an IFR requirement. And we are doing an IFR flight today. So So excellent. 3037 is set, and obviously I'd need to set it down here too. It looks like it actually set it for me. Obviously in real life if that doesn't happen, you have to separately adjust that as well. Excellent. Well, that makes it easy. Just don't fall into that trap in real life. Altimeter, transponder, we're going to leave that for the moment. ADS-B, that's on. That's actually part of the transponder. Radio test, well, we'll pretend the radios work. Taxi lights on. Brake test we'll do in a minute. The attitude indicator, turn coordinate, and HSI compass test we'll check shortly. Alright, so let's just turn the brakes off. Head to runway 21 left. And let's go. Let's get better visibility. Alright, first of all, hit my brakes. Excellent, my brakes work. Oop. I still don't taxi this thing as well as I do in real life. Mind you, my seat's got wheels on it, so that doesn't help, so my seat swivels around. Alright, so we're doing a right turn, left skid, HSI is turning in the correct direction, and compass is freely rotating and the HSI remains level. Left turn, right skid, HSI is turning in the correct direction, compass is freely swinging and the HSI remained level. Of course I should be checking the standby one as well. It looks like it's staying level. Excellent. Alright, that's the taxi test. It's good so far. We'll do a run up down the end of this taxiway here. 2 on left is the one that's down here on the right, and obviously that's 2 on right down there, which requires a bit of backtracking actually. And it's not quite as short a runway. That's not quite as long a runway, so that's the other reason I'm using 2 on the left. And also, with regards to 2 on right, when you take off, you actually fly over the parking area where all the aircraft are parked, and they have light poles. And in the middle of summer, when you're climbing out, you don't get a very high climb rate, and you kind of have to be aware of that and sort of turn to avoid them. Yeah, it's not a good design, especially for these elevations. Believe me, I flew the Piper Warrior out of here. And in the fuel tanks they have a tab, and whenever you got fuel you always told them you only fill it up to the tab. If you went with full fuel with one other person on board, like your check examiner, there's no way you're going to get off the ground in the middle of summer. The elevation is 5,000 feet, but in the middle of summer here, the density altitude, it was kind of like flying out of an airport at 8,000 feet. So the performance was really bad in summer. Alright, let's just do a run up here. This'll do. The winds are so light, doesn't matter which direction we're facing. Yeah, it would be blocking someone, potentially, but it's okay. We won't be long. Alright, for the run up, brakes are set. Fuel selectors, we're going to put those on. They're on both. Trim, that's set for takeoff. And flight controls, we'll just bring those back just momentarily. Make sure we've got full controls here. Left and right pedals. We know the pedals work because we've been using them. And they look free and correct. And you're also making sure, because you'll have your knee board and stuff, you want to make sure that the control column doesn't hit your knee or things like that. So you might have to lower the seat maybe. Okay, let's see. Trim, flight controls, instruments. Instruments, there's no red X's or anything like that, so that's good. The altimeter is set to 3037, both the primary and the standby, and they're both within 75 feet. Fantastic. Standby altimeter is, yep, that's set. The cap 140, okay, the autopilot, we're going to quickly test that. So just push the button in for the heading bug, and that'll bring it straight to your current heading. Put the autopilot on and put on heading. Turning heading indicator to the left. Oh yeah, I'm going to show you that it's working. Yep. Okay, see if it turns to the right. Which it is, and you make sure you can turn it off. Yep. Excellent. Oh, yep, turn it off, that's it. Awesome, that works. And obviously the other thing is, I don't know if it's depicted in this. No, you can't pull it out. But normally you would, if for whatever reason you couldn't shut it down, you just pull the circuit breaker on the autopilot. I've not had to do that in real life, but that's why it's actually highlighted, so it's a quick, easy find for the pilot. If for whatever reason this button doesn't work to autopilot disconnect, or this one, that's why that's highlighted, and it's easy to pull it out. Because you might get into a situation where you have runaway trim or something like that, so that's what that's about. Anyway, let's see what else is there. Standby instruments are good. Mixture is leaned, and we'll lean again once we get up to cruise level. Manual electric trim, so that's actually these ones here. Gotta make sure this is working. Yep, see they both work. They have to both be used. If you only use one or the other, it doesn't work. It's purposely done that way so that you have to use both buttons to set it. And without electric trim, you cannot have altitude hold, so that's very important. And once we're going to go to 11,000 feet. Okay, wonderful. Standby instruments, mixture, manual electric trim. Okay, well now we're going to do the run up. So let's quickly go to 1800 RPM. Almost there. There we go. Alright, it's a little bit over there, but that's okay. So we're going to go to the left. Magneto. That's fine, it's pretty stable. Go back to both. That's not too much of a drop. Let's go to right. Yeah, that's okay. And they're both within 50 of each other. Back to both. Vacuum indicator. The vacuum indicator is there, and that's in the green, and that actually powers this standby artificial horizon. This artificial horizon is powered by something else. I believe it's laser gyros, not a traditional vacuum system, but that is the vacuum operated one. The engine indicators, the fuel flow is good, oil pressure is good, oil temperature is good, vacuum's good, fuel is fine for what we're doing today, and electrical looks good. Amps and volts are okay. Annunciators, we don't have any annunciators at the moment. Go back to idle. Make sure the engine doesn't stop upon idling. It is good, so let's go back to 1000 RPM. Oops, a little bit over, but that's okay. Mixture is leaned. Throttle friction, this is the sim, we don't need to worry about that, but that is actually this knob around the throttle there, just to make sure through engine vibration the RPM does not change. FMS, GPS. Alright, so what we're going to do is I'll quickly plug this in. This is the actual route we're doing. And by magic, it'll just appear through editing. Okay, run-up checks are done. For the pre-takeoff, flaps. We're not going to use any flaps. The mixture is set. Pitot heat, not required. Transponder we can put onto, we'll put on altitude. We're going to leave it on 1200. Even though we're a pretend IFR flight, that's okay. Heading bug is actually set to 205. That's part of our departure procedure. I'll brief that in just a moment. The doors and windows are closed. Landing light is on. Strobes can come on. And we'll take off in just a moment. I'll just quickly give you a rundown for the departure procedure. The obstacle departure procedure out of Prescott, the Prescott 3 departure. And we're on 2 on left, so we need a minimum climb of 430 feet per nautical mile up to 8,200 feet. Or visual climb over the airport. So 2 on left, climb heading 205 until 7,300 feet, and then climbing right turn direct to the VORTAC, back to the Drake VOR. And that's tuned and identified already. And once we get to the VORTAC, we're going to track 305 outbound to 9,000 feet. Then continuing climbing on course. Other aircraft climbing right turn direct back to the VORTAC, then the assigned course. So we're going to get airborne. Take up a heading of 205. until we get to 7,300 feet, track direct to the nav aid, go outbound on 305, and then track back to the VORTAC and track 061 outbound. Whew. Yes, that's what we're going to do. Yep, there's a lot to it, but that's okay. That's what we're going to do. So here we go. Put that there. Oh, actually, I'll need that. That. I'll put that back. So here we go. And I'm not going to do any proper radio comms or anything like that. I'm just pretending it's all CTEF all the way, even though this is a Class Delta towered airport. But you'll notice here how slow this thing is to accelerate at this elevation. I can assure you the performance difference is very noticeable in real life. There's 2 on left. Excellent. That's what we have. Compass is reading good, so let's go. RPM's up. Computer struggling. Runway's clear. Airspeed is alive. See how it's not accelerating as quickly. But it is accelerating. Alright, 55, let's begin a rotate. Come on, let's get off the ground, mate. Come on. And stay in ground effect as long as you can. Just to accelerate. There we go. We're accelerated enough now. Alright, so let's actually just stick on the autopilot with heading mode. Heading. Oh, that will change. No, I don't want to sink. I don't want to sink. And we need our best rate of climb, which is 74 knots. Should have preset this. Alright, so this is heading 205. Might be better if I take my foot off the rudders. This is our best rate of climb. That's actually a lot higher than I expected. Believe it or not. So we're going to keep climbing until we get to 7,300 feet. And we've got Drake, nav1 and nav2, both tuned and identified. The bearing indicator is actually pointing directly to the nav aid, and we'll continue to update. So as soon as we get to 7,300 feet, we're going to make a right-hand turn and track direct to the bearing indicator. Then, once we get to the nav aid, track outbound on that radial there, 305, until we get to 9,000 feet. Just like the departure procedure requests. 6,000 feet, 1,300 feet to go. And flying right over the Enroute campus, I can tell by the driveway there. They've done a really great job with this area. Even though this is Flight 7 2020, it still looks really good. Although I must admit, I don't remember seeing any aircraft actually flying over the campus when I was actually at school. So maybe the departure procedure's changed since then. I don't know. I actually used to live up here, this area up here. Alright, almost 7,300 feet. Keep an eye on indicators. It's all looking good so far. And Thumb Butte will be somewhere up in front of us up there. It's some great hiking up there, and obviously we've got Granite Mountain, which is just behind the pillar there. It's off to our right. You'll see that better shortly. Yeah, I don't ever remember flying this procedure back in the day. Alright, we're almost at 7,300 feet. And we're getting kind of close to the mountain, so climb grade, the rate we're climbing is actually a lot better than I expected. Alright. 7,300. Okay, let's start our right turn. And we want to go to where the bearing indicator is pointing, which is directly to the nav aid. The rudder pedals on this thing are a bit oversensitive. Alright. And it's turning quicker than rate 1 on the autopilot. That's the other thing I don't like about this autopilot, is it goes much faster than rate 1. Okay, we're tracking directly to the nav aid. Once we get to the nav aid, which is 6.8 nautical miles away, we need to track outbound on that track until we get to 9,000 feet. Then make a right turn, direct back to the nav aid, then track outbound 061. Hopefully we can get the 9,000 before we even get there. That'll be good. And that's Granite Mountain off to our left. Excellent hiking up there. Really nice area for hiking. And there was a film made, it would have been in the late 80s. It was called Creepshow 2, which is a series of short films. And one of them, titled The Raft, was actually filmed really in this proximity of Granite Mountain somewhere. So there's a lake somewhere down there. I think it's around this side somewhere. They filmed the raft. So you can see parts of Granite Mountain in the background in the actual film. It's actually pretty cool. Alright, that's cool. We're going to make 9,000 feet before we actually get there. That's great. So we can track 061. Instead of having to go outbound on 305. Uh, 061. There we go. So that's our intended course. And we still have 4 miles to go. Although by the time we get there, we're probably almost going to be about a mile above it, so it'll indicate about 1. As DME is actually slant range versus GPS distance is actually range along the ground. You'll see these numbers actually differ fairly soon. See, they're already differing. And the gap between the two will actually increase the closer we get. As DME has a transmitter on board the aircraft, and it sends a signal from the aircraft to the receiver on the ground and then sends a signal back. Actually supposed to be tracking direct to the nav aid, so... So DME actually measures the distance between the aircraft and the actual nav aid on the ground, as opposed to GPS, which is actually distance along the ground. So that's why it's going to slightly differ. I know I've mentioned that in many other videos, but pretty sure you don't watch all of them. Alright, so I think we can do the climb takeoff checklist. So throttle set, mixture is lean, instruments are looking good so far, taxi and landing lights can come off. Flight plan, it's open. We'll pretend we've contacted departures or is it Albuquerque Center in this area. Yep, very good. Actually, I do need the heading a bit to the left of the track because of the wind. Still got a pretty good rate of climb, 500 feet. It's good. And also the moving map is showing the track 061 once we get overhead the nav aid, so it's looking good there. And you have almost 800 feet to go. Obviously, we've just passed our MEA for the first sector, but the second part of the sector is 10,800 feet. So we are safe to go on the first sector. And it's a beautiful area. turned up really well in Flight Sim 2020. This is pretty much what it looks like. Alright, let's go to the outbound track. Just wait for that. Pick up the needle, the HSI, we'll pick it up again in a minute. We're in a cone of confusion, so there's not really any signal directly above it. It radiates in all directions around it, but not directly above it. There we go. So, tail of the needle is to the left of track that we want, so we want to go to the right of that track. And also the needle's indicating that as well. HSI needle. And I don't want to do too big an intercept because we are very, very close to the nav aid. As you can see, it's just behind us. As you can see with the heading indicator, where it's heading, it's actually not going to be long before we intercept. And there it is, right there. And I overshot it. And we are approaching 11,000 feet. Now I don't want to chase the HSI needle with the nav mode because it violently chases it. Autopilot's not very smart in this thing. Alright, so we're accelerating now. It's lowered the nose. It's excellent. Ah, it's a few clouds. Okay. Outside temperature is 0, so we will pick up icing. That's not allowed. Alright. Just pull that throttle back to 25, just to give the engine a little bit of a rest. Well, not strain it as much. And let's see if we can land it a bit more. Actually, I'll switch to nav mode just a moment first. Alright, switch to VOR nav mode now. Bearing 2, okay. That's right, that's right. Alright, let's lean the mixture further. Since we've gained some altitude, let's just keep an eye on that RPM. See if we gain any more RPM out of it. Yep. I think that's about it. That's okay. It's leaned a bit more. Cruise checklist power set mixture is lean. Instruments are looking good. So what I'll do is actually see if we can go to nav 2. Activate nav 2. Winslow VOR, it's picked it up. And okay, so let's see. Bearing 2, I want nav 2. There we go. So that's pointing towards the Winslow, and that one's pointing towards Drake. And going by GPS, we're expecting to be at Winslow 43 minutes. Excellent. Very good. That's going to be about 1613 Zulu. Yeah, these clouds are not looking good, so that was something I did not anticipate. Increase throttle. See if we can climb above these clouds, because at these temperatures it is actually going to cause ice on the aircraft, and we are legally not allowed to fly in icing conditions. I don't want to slow down too much, so we have a positive rate, so 86 is fine. I don't need to go to 74 for best rate. I will if I have to. Yeah, maybe I should. 74 knots, that's our best rate. Also indicated by the VY there. There's no way you'd get this rate of climb, this elevation. No way, but we'll accept it. I would never expect to get this. This is what I'd expect to get in the middle of summer when you're actually getting airborne out of Prescott. Not at this elevation, but that's okay. That's all right. So I've set 13,000. Slow climb. And we are above our MEA, so that's all good there. We do have quite a crosswind too. So we're tracking 061 with a heading of 50, so that's 11 degrees. And mind you, we are going slower, so we're more vulnerable. Larger correction angles required. And the wind is showing 26 degrees. It's almost 26 knots direct crosswind, really. 341, yeah, almost. Wow. So at these speeds, 26, half is about 13, so it's almost a half degree for every knot of crosswind. Alright, I think we're going to be okay at 13,000. Alright, it's looking good out there. I'm not sure what the name of these mountains are just here, but Jerome, the small mining town of Jerome, sits on the other side of this hill, halfway down the hill. It's a great place to visit if you're ever in Arizona. Absolutely love going there. It's a very old school tourist attraction. And I love going to the Haunted Hamburger restaurant, and they've got a haunted hotel on top of the hill up at Jerome. I've never actually stayed there, but I'll have to give it a go one day. As you'll see when we get on the other side of the hill. Just turn the volume down a little bit. Get the sound. It's pretty loud. Alright, we're going to be just skimming the tops of these clouds. I think we're going to be alright. Excellent. I actually didn't anticipate any clouds. See, we're -3 Celsius, so yeah, we can't find those clouds. We'll have to find a gap in the clouds to descend though. It's going to be interesting. And approaching the fix dirty, which is at 15 DME. Yep, there we go, we just passed it. Can we see Jerome? Just level off first. Go, leveling off, allow it to accelerate. And you'll see the wind correction angle will probably change because we're picking up speed. It won't have to be as big as an angle, so it'll probably go to the right as a guess. We might be able to lean it a bit more. Actually, we'll set it to 2500 RPM. It's not accelerating much more than this. Alright, we're going to be up here for 38 minutes. So, as piloting command, if we're going to be above 12,500 feet in the United States for more than 30 minutes, which we will be, we're actually required to have oxygen. Now, we don't need to have it for at least 30 minutes. After the 30 minutes, above 12,500 feet, but below 14,000, we are required to have it. You probably should have it anyway at this altitude. So we'll just pretend we've put oxygen on. Looks like we are going to skim top of those clouds. This thing is not going to climb. And our MEA is 10,800. Well, not yet. It's not until we get to 39 DME. That's when the MEA climbs to 10,800 feet, which will put us right in the clouds. So we kind of put ourselves in a box here. And let's see if we can climb. Actually, we are visual. Normally just tell ATC, or ask ATC, it's like we need to just deviate left the track just to avoid cloud. And this is okay because we are actually visual. So, still on an IFR plan. This poor thing won't climb much higher. Gap right there. Now that is taking us closer to the mountains though, that's, just be wary of that. But we are visual. And this obviously will affect our ETA. See if I can see Jerome before it disappears in the clouds. There's Jerome there. Great town. If you ever get a chance, definitely go visit Jerome. Halfway up that mountain. You take 89A, and that'll take you winding all over this hill. I think that's probably it there. It really winds down the hill. And then it takes you down to Clarkdale, and then Cottonwood's just around about here somewhere. Another airport there. And as you can see, some of the dangers of flying general aviation in IFR conditions, you can get trapped in a box. So we're above the MEA, but yeah. And 10,900 feet's the off-course, off-radial clearance altitude. But in the next sector, although that's a little bit further north, is 14,900, so got to be wary of that. That's why we've got to stay visual. If I wasn't visual, I wouldn't be doing this. Alright, so we might be able to just go that way. Yeah, if we weren't visual, you couldn't really do this, or you just need to have an aircraft that is certified to fly in icing conditions. Yeah, this is actually something I did not anticipate today. I didn't even think about it. So, yep, it's definitely illegal to fly in those clouds, in this aircraft, anyway. We'll aim right for that gap, and then we'll try and get back on course. Hopefully we'll get back on course before we get to Sedona, because wanted to overfly Sedona. It's a lovely area to see from the air. And if you're wondering why I'm flying Flight Sim 2020 instead of Flight Sim 2024, earlier today I went through the recommended procedure of installing or reinstalling Flight Sim 2024. And after doing so, it installed correctly. That was fine. So I set up to do an ILS out of Indianapolis Metro, and I was going to do an ILS into Indianapolis Regional, which is like 5 minutes away. But for whatever reason, upon getting airborne, it would not detect or pick up any ground-based nav aids, or I couldn't even enter GPS procedures in the G1000. So for whatever reason, it was not performing the way it's supposed to. So as a result, I'll be sticking with 2020 for a while yet, just until they iron out all the bugs in 2024. So it shouldn't take too long, because I seem to recall when 2020 first came out, it was a bit of a dog's breakfast as well. So, and it's obviously come a long way since it was first released. So I expect the same for 2024. So it's going to be all good. Just got to be patient. That's all. Now let's see. I can actually descend now. Go back to 11,000. So let's do that. Just pull that throttle back a little bit. We can stay out of these little fluffy clouds too. Once you get past this little line of clouds, I'll get back on track. Sedona's actually just over here. I can tell by the rock formation. So we're not going to fly over the airport. Sorry guys. And that'd be Mormon Lake over there, and Mormon Mountain. I can just tell by the lake. That's the track we were supposed to be on. Although I think we could track over that way now, actually. Yeah, let's go over this way a bit more. Just to get back on track. Get the views we intended on getting. I'll see there's Sedona down there, just to the left. And the airport is on that large plateau overlooking the whole town. It's great. Great airport to fly into. The restaurant there is actually pretty fancy. It's a bit more fancy than the type of restaurants I like to go to, but it's pretty cool. Yeah, there it is there, the Sedona Airport. And it looks even better in 2024, but obviously it still looks really good in Flight Sim 2020. Yeah, that should be good there to maintain that until we get on track. This wind is going to blow us right back on the track really quickly. We actually don't need that big an intercept angle. And as soon as the needle is centered, I'll stick it back onto nav mode. 500 feet to go. Yeah, man, I really didn't anticipate those clouds. If the temperature was above freezing, I would have just gone straight through it, but nope. All right, 200 feet to go. Let's just bring the throttle back up to 2500 RPM. There we go, 25. And switch back to nav mode. It might violently chase it momentarily, which is why I waited for it to be centered before I activated the nav mode, because autopilots are not very smart. They just do what you tell them to do. Alright, we're about 26 minutes away, so what I could do is start setting up for the approach. Now we're 49 miles away, and the approach essentially starts at 10 nautical miles from Winslow VOR. So, okay, so what I'll do is we need the ASOS 118875. Right, get ready to write this down.
Kilo India November Whiskey Automated Weather Observation 1500 Zulu. Wind, calm. Visibility, 10. Sky condition, clear. Temperature, 2 Celsius. Dew point, 10 Celsius. Altimeter 3053. Kilo India November Whiskey Automated Weather Observation 1500 Zulu.
Excellent.
Wind, calm. Visibility, 10. Sky condition, clear. Temperature, 2 Celsius.
053.
Dew point, 10 Celsius. Altimeter 3053.
053. And it adjusted down there, I imagine, like it did before. Looks like it. If I only did that in real life. Let's bring heading indicator back to our actual heading. Okay. $2,500 RPM. Okay, so the 6. Okay. The entire route between Drake and Winslow is 86 nautical miles, and there's no designated changeover point on this route, so automatically that means you switch over to the nav aid primarily to Winslow at the halfway point, or the direction you're going, you switch over at the halfway point. So that'd be 43 nautical miles. And we're almost there, so we're almost at the halfway point. So as soon as we do the switch over, then I will do the briefing for the approach. So I'll just momentarily go back to heading mode. Okay, we're back on heading mode, just so I can switch over momentarily. Nav 1. 3, halfway point, switched over, we're using the flip-flop switch. So now 112.6 is now active, and they're both tuned and identified. Alright, so the course is slightly different, so according to the VFR chart, we should be flying over Mormon Lake around about here somewhere. So, and looking at the moving map, that's the wrong way. I always turn that the wrong way. Yeah, we need to be a little bit more to the right. And the needle indicates that as well. As soon as the needle is centered, I'll switch over to nav mode again. According to this GPS, we are right of track now. However, we're actually tracking on the VOR, so I'm primarily following this, just using GPS as a guide more than anything else. Zoom out to about 10. 10 miles is actually quite a handy distance, because actually when the nav aid's at 10 miles, we're going to be pretty much starting the approach on the DME arc. So that's actually a good setting to have. Alright, the needle's almost centered. Very, very close. Alright, I'll just stick on nav mode now. It's going to violently chase it. As silly as it is, but it'll settle down momentarily. There we go. It's settled down now. Okay, so we're going to do the VOR GPS runway 11 using the VOR into Winslow in Arizona. We've got the ASOS, we already know what's going on there. And we're going to be tracking to intercept somewhere along here the DME arc. So we're currently tracking on the 242 radial to Winslow. It's obviously going to be, that's 278, that's 195, so we're going to be somewhere around here on this current radial. We'll intercept this 10 DME arc. Once we are on the DME arc, we can descend to 8,100 feet. Expect to intercept from this point here. What's the name of that? I don't know, but we'll intercept the the 278 radial, but we'll be tracking 098 inbound. Once we're inbound, we can track, actually we can go to 7,000 feet and then descend down to, so once we're established we can go to 7,000 feet, or actually established we can go down to 6,200 feet. Upon passage of the station, we can then descend down to our NBA of 5,340, or just call it 5,400. For Australian approach runway 11 because the winds are calm. And missed approach points at 3.8 DME past the nav aid. For missed approach procedure, we're going to climb straight ahead to 6,000 feet and then continue with the climbing right turn to 7,000 feet directly back to the Winslow VOR, and we intercept the hold there that's depicted up here, and that would be a teardrop entry. However, we're awesome and we're going to get in, so yeah. Let's put that aside. So that's the approach we're going to be doing. And we'll be making reference to this DME here. The DME for the actual nav aid, not GPS. Although they're going to be very similar. So we can actually load the procedure, select approach, VOR DME runway 11. We'll just call it vectors because we're going to be intercepting partway through it. Turn the mins on the barometric and 5340. Oh, this takes a while, this. So what I'm doing here is I'm selecting the procedure in the GPS so it can guide us to specific fixes using the GPS if we want to. It's a nice thing to have as a backup. Not to mention it is actually a GPS approach as well. 5340 is what we want. Takes a while. Okay, I want to make sure I get it correct. Look at that. 5340. Now load it? No, let's actually activate it. It's not approved for GPS. GPS guidance is for monitoring only. Load approach. Yes, that's okay. You get that warning in real life. So the final approach fix is actually the nav aid. Overhead the nav aid. So we're going to be tracking to the 10 DME arc. So if you want to picture it on here, the course is 098 inbound, so that's 09, that's 100, so 098 is about there. So picture that's the nav aid there, that's the direction we're going to track. But before we get to the nav aid, we're going to be, say that's the 10 DME arc. We're going to intercept 10 DME arc, your left turn, track it 098 to the nav aid, and then continue on 098. If that's 10 DME, it's only going to be out there. So yeah. Back before we had moving maps, this was your moving map. You just had to visualize it in your head. But it's pretty easy. So yeah, just imagine the VOR is actually the center there. This is the actual radial we're on right now. We're down here. Get to the 10 DME arc. Intercept it, track 098 inbound to the station, and then 098 from land at the airport. Pretty straightforward. So we've got a little bit of time yet, so let's just enjoy some of the views, eh? And you can see the meteor crater is actually right about there. I'll be willing to bet our approach starts right about the meteor crater for the 10 DME arc. Yeah, there's some noticeable differences in the satellite photography here versus over here, clearly defined here, but it still looks really good, you know. So that'd be Flagstaff up there. Mormon Lake, Mormon Mountain as we just flew over. And Jerome's all back there, Sedona, and obviously beyond that is obviously Prescott. It's a pretty amazing sim. It's really cool. And you can see we've still got 22 miles to go for the actual nav aid itself, but the approach starts at 10 DME for us on the DME arc. So with regards to this, to initiate getting onto the DME arc, we're going to be doing a left-hand turn, 90 degrees at 11 DME, and then we'll just follow the DME arc around to the 098 to the station, and then outbound 098 to the airport. Just quickly check to see if anything's changed.
Kilo India November Whiskey Automated Weather Observation 1600 Zulu. Wind 260 at 4. Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature -3 Celsius. Dew point 10 Celsius. Altimeter 3044. Kilo India November Whiskey Automated Weather Observation 1600 Zulu. Wind 260 at 4. Visibility.
Okay, the wind has changed. We could do a circling approach to 22. Or actually just circle the runway 29er. Yeah, we'll do runway 29er. So we'll do a circling approach. So that's 5420. So what we do is here. I'm not going to enter that again. It didn't save it. That's all right. We just have to remember what the mins are. Didn't save it. Ah, crap. So whatever your barometric settings are for the your limit, your MDA, it'll actually save it there, but for whatever reason, when I set it, it didn't save it. Oh well. So we'll do a landing approach for runway 29er. And the new altimeter is 3044. So barometric is the outer one, so that's this one. It's a big change actually. 3044. And we check that. Yeah, it updated automatically. Thanks. You finally did that in real life. And I fly the approaches at 80 knots. So when we start our descent, we'll actually have to pull the throttle back just to keep the speed at 80. Even at 90 knots, it's okay in the arc and whatnot. But just within a mile or so of the final approach fix, you want to bring it down to 80. So we're showing 16 DME. So at 11, we'll make our left-hand turn, 90 degrees. And once we're established in the DME arc, we can descend to 8,100 feet. So I'll do that. 8,100. We're not going to descend yet, not until we're in the arc. It's going to maintain this 11,000 for the time being. There's the meteor crater. I was thinking it was at 10 DME, but obviously it's not. Doesn't that look awesome? So you got Interstate 40, which is I think it's that one. I know it's up here, but I think that's it there depicted there. Interstate 40, which I took from Arizona all the way to Virginia when I moved to Virginia from Arizona. But you take this little road and it takes you down to the little touristy spot right there. I am not sure if people can go down inside the crater. I've never actually been there. I've flown over it in real life. Obviously, this is what it looks like. It looks really good in this sim. Even though it's flights in 2020, not 2024, it still looks really cool. Alright, I better check to see the approach. Where are we? 13 DME. Okay, so we've got a little bit of time. It's hard to see when you barely make it out there. Sorry folks, we've got to stay inside now because we're going to do this approach. It looks really cool. Alright, so 1 mile, we're going to make a left-hand turn, 90 degrees. So that'll be heading of about 330 will be fine. I just use these lubber markers, 45 degree markers, 90 degree markers as a point where I go to. Let's go to heading mode. And there's 11 DME, so okay, let's go. Do that. And the course inbound is 0982. That's what we want. So think of that as the nav aid. That's the track we want to fly. That's the track we're going to fly. Just think of that little marker as where the airport is at the moment. And the tail of the needle is the bearing indicator showing where we are in relation to this track. And we're at 10.5 DME, 10.6, so we are increasing, so let's turn the heading in a bit more. Out there, that should be good. And obviously the moving map's also depicting the actual track we want to fly as well. But I actually fairly rarely make reference to that. So we just keep an eye on this DME. And we can actually descend down to 8,100 feet, so let's do that. And I'll pull that throttle back. And I should have actually done my pre-landing checks. .7. We've only got 1 mile as a tolerance, so this is actually not a very good DME arc. Descent power set mixture. We're not going to fully reach it. Fuel selectors on both. We have the ATIS. FD's set. Standby and altimeter is also set. Autopilot we're currently using. I'm going to point that actually directly to the fix. Numbers slowly coming back. And when the bearing indicator actually matches up with this, that's when you know we're on track. So when it's 10 degrees away from that, you'll know the needle will start moving. That's why I love bearing indicators. It actually gives you a good heads up. We're all set for the time being. Pre-landing checks, we could probably do those now. Brakes are set off. Let's just put the taxi lights and landing lights on. Autopilot currently is. The seatbelts set. Mixture is fine. Fuel selectors on both. The flaps we're going to adjust as necessary. Alright, we're at 10.3 DME, so we're getting better. And once we are established, actual inbound track, we can then descend down to 6,200. But I couldn't start that descent until we were established in the actual arc as well. So 10.1 DME is much better now. As you can see, we are getting close to the actual track. The bearing indicator and needle, yep, starting to get movement. All right. Start the turn, just reduce the intercept angle. Because that fix is a fly-by point, it's not an actual fly-over point. The only fly-over point is usually the missed approach procedure point. Alright, good. Needle's still moving. Okay, we can descend to 6,200. Now we're established. Let's pull the throttle way back. Just to give us a chance to get down there. Alright, let's turn it a bit more now. Probably going to need about that. Correction, wind correction. That little purple diamond is actually indicating the actual track that you're flying. So oops, no, I need to go further this way. Nope, I get it backwards, so that's why I don't like using it. Stick with the needles. And we are 7 miles out from the DME, and the missed approach point is 3.8 DME beyond the nav aid. So alright, so the wind is from our left, is currently blowing us back on track. You see the diamond is purple diamond's just to the right of track, so it's indicating we're going to catch up to the track we want. 6 miles to the nav aid. Can't see the airport yet, but it's out there. We know it is. Alright, the wind is greatly reducing, so that's good. And we're planning on runway 29er. Just check the winds haven't changed.
Kilo India November Whiskey Automated Weather Observation 1600 Zulu. Wind 260 at 4.
Yep, it's the same.
Visibility 10. Sky condition clear. Temperature -3 Celsius. Dew point 10 Celsius. Altimeter 3044.
Yep.
Kilo India November.
That's all the same. Excellent. All right. 5,420 is actually our MDA for the circling approach. But we can't go to that until we go past the navode. 6,200 is our current limit. Oh, the barometric's back. Good. Even though I changed it to 5420. It's 5420 now because we're doing a circling approach. Because when I set that, it was we were going to do a straight in because the winds were calm. And you'd do obviously a radio call. Winslow, Cessna 172 Alpha Sierra Hotel is 7 miles to the west inbound on the VOR approach. Winslow, traffic. So, yeah, we're not really focusing on radio calls today. And 6,200 is our limit until we pass the actual navade. And we cannot go below it. The check rides, the MDAs and circling approaches and DAs, it's plus 100 minus 0. Anything else besides those altitudes, it's plus or minus 100 feet. So we still don't want to go below it. 6,200 feet. So we've got 400 feet to lose in 2 miles. Slow. Should be at 80. $100 to go. There we go. So we've got another mile and a bit to go. Oh, don't want to go too much faster. And we can see the runway now. Oops. So it's inside there. Let's stay on track, please. And we're on heading mode because I don't want to use the nav aid to track. It's getting very sensitive because I'm getting close. So don't fall into the trap of chasing the needle. It's bad, bad, bad. Alright, we're about to get station passage. You'll see the bearing indicator swing around to the back behind us. And here we go. Boom. And if you're concerned, don't worry, it's all good. Look at that, we're still on track, pretty much. Tail is to the left of the track we want, so therefore we need to go to the right, do the opposite of what the tail is. And you follow the head of the needle, but do the opposite of the tail. And we're going to descend down to 5,420. And 3.8 is the DME, the missed approach point. You can see it doesn't get you exactly lined up with the runway, but It's close. Well, clearly we're visual, so we'll start our approach to runway 29er, which is obviously, oh my goodness, I'm really disorientated, 29er. Wow, okay. Stand there. All right. Don't climb though. So the wind is 260 at 4 knots. It's not much of a wind, but it's, you know, it's some wind. So I'm just going to fly right downwind, make a right-hand turn, and then land on 29er. For some reason I was thinking it was the cross runway, not the opposite end. I don't know why I was thinking that. That's why I was a bit disorientated momentarily. We're looking. Okay. And elevation is 4,900, so 59 is actually the pattern altitude, but because we are doing a circling approach, but we are visual, we have to remain within 1.3 nautical miles of the runway. I think we're within 1.3 miles. Okay, let's see. We are below 110 knots, so we can put the first 10 degrees of flaps out. And we're actually in the white arc, so we can go more. Let's put more power in. So we don't want to stall the bloody thing. We don't want to get too far away either. Let's start the turn. But we don't want to climb either, because it's meant to be a circling approach. That's the runway. Oh, there it is there. Pretty hard when you haven't got, only got one screen to look at it. Let's put the rest of these flaps out, baby. So we are pretty high. Hold on to your seats, folks. It's going to be bumpy.
500.
And we have plenty of runway, so we'll be fine. It is a displaced threshold, probably because of the interstate there. So you can take off on the displaced threshold, but you can't land on it. Yeah, they probably get some large trucks on that road there. Alright. I can show you my landing skills in real life are a lot better than what they are in the sim. There. Come on. Come on. Stall on the runway. Alrighty. Guess we made it. Walked away from that one. So, welcome to Winslow, Arizona. I never actually flew to Winslow Airport while I was out there. Alrighty. Let's take this exit. Park in front there. First of all, I'll just hit the brakes. We'll just stop the aircraft momentarily. Okay. Strobes can come off. Landing lights can come off. Transponder, it's on altitude. It actually normally automatically goes back to standby or on ground because it bases it on ground speed. Gets to the GPS. Trim set for takeoff. And flaps can come up. After landing, flaps are up, strobes are off, landing lights off, text lights on, pitot heat's off, mixture is fine, trim, separator, transponder is around or on standby. Let's go, we'll just park in front here. Looks like a lovely default airport. I can show you, it looks a lot better than X-Plane 11. And let's just park over here somewhere. Yeah, looks like a fuel bowser over there or something. Let's just park facing this shed, eh? That'll do. That'll do just there. Back to 1000 RPM. Excellent. Alright, let's put the brakes on. Not that I use those brakes in real life. And text lights can come off. Alright, avionics off. Boom, boom. Pull the mixture. Switches off. Batteries off. And put the rest of the switches off. Awesome. Well, that jet seems a bit out of place, but that's okay. He'll go in a minute. Let's leave it there, like so. That looks like a good spot. So we've got the two towers. Why there's two towers, I don't know, but that's cool. With a large building and a jet leaving. Looks like a CRJ 900. It's quite a long one. And obviously the securing checklist. ELT, verify that it's off. Avionics are off. Yep. Mixtures fully lean. Mags are off. Musters off. Hobs. Check time. Standby batteries off. Yep. Fuel selector left or right. Oh, I forgot to do that. Control locks. You put those in. Put the chocks in. You tie it down. Bit of covers on. Baggage doors closed. Lock the airplane up. And you put it to bed. That's it. Yeah, so that was a quick flight from Prescott to Winslow. And as obviously you saw the obstacle departure clearance, or procedure I should say, ODP, out of Prescott. And it's, yeah, it can be quite challenging flying over those areas with the limited performance in these aircraft. But it's a good experience for sure. So yeah, obviously in real life the Drake VOR is in op, so you'd have to use GPS for that whole flight today, but obviously in the sim that's all good. And yeah, I hope you got something out of this sim and learned something. I don't know, maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't watch it this far. I don't know. Either way, yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.